We continue with the Irish theme now with our next guest, known the world over as the man with the golden flute. Claire caught up with Sir James Galway on his recent trip back home to Northern Ireland.
Let me take you back to your childhood, growing up in Belfast, a very musical childhood.
Yeah, it was. The street I grew up on, everybody played something. There were very few people who didn't play anything.
Your father and your grandfather, they were steeped in music as well.
My dad played the accordion, my granddad played the flute, and I think he must have been quite a good flute player because I think he played in the opera now and again. Because my Uncle Joe, who taught me the flute, said he used to go and listen to my granddad play.
Take me back to whenever you started the flute. What age were you whenever you started to play?
I think about 9, something like that. I was in a flute band to begin with, then I played in the Belfast Military, and then I joined the 39th Old Boys, which was a big flute band. I really enjoyed it, and I always practiced, and then I began to think that this is a gift from God, and you should not refuse a gift. You should look after it.
Do you ever tire of performing?
No, it's great. I really like performance. I like to get out there. You know what's great about it? You practice something and it's a disaster. And then a week later it begins to hang together. 2 weeks later you've really got it up and running. And 3 weeks later it's ready to go. And you get out there and play and all the things that you practiced come to fruition.
Yeah. Before you go on stage, do you have a routine? Do you have things that you do right before you go on to perform?
Yeah, I do, but generally the last thing I do is pray to bless the performance. Now, I always like to play at the end of a concert, Danny Boy, because I think this is like a prayer in music. And I make a joke with the audience, I tell them, now listen, you don't have to get down on your knees or hold your hands together or close your eyes, because the master says, watch and pray.
The piece you're going to perform for us, The Lord's My Shepherd, what does that particular piece mean to you?
Well, first of all, it's a beautiful psalm. And secondly, I thought, this is the Queen's favourite song. So if she's looking in, I'm playing it for her too.
And performing alongside your wife, Jeannie.
Yeah, that's nice.
How special is that?
Yeah, it's very special.
The housing crisis is a UK-wide problem involving a complex set of issues affecting both rural and urban communities. But ultimately, it's about people. Last year, Rachel and her family were told out of the blue that they had to leave their rented home in Bristol.
Within 2 weeks, we went from it might be a possibility that your house will be sold to the house is sold, we're going to have to get somewhere else to live very quickly. A house would come on the market for rent and it would be snapped up straight away. You know, the prices had just gone out of control. And so we started thinking we're just going to have to move somewhere else. Obviously people have to up and leave their homes in much, much worse situations than ours. You know, people have to flee war zones and cross borders. It wouldn't have been the end of the world if we had to do it. But for us, we were so well established. The community that we were very involved with, the church that we were part of, all of this, all of a sudden, gone.
Just before uprooting their family for a property they didn't really want, Rachel received a call from her church with news of a house being offered for rent in Bristol by a member of the congregation.
When I walked in to this very house, I thought, this is it. This is the house I want our family to live in. And I literally looked at every room with this huge smile on my face. The best thing was when I spoke to my now landlady and she said, look, this house has been such a blessing to us and our family, and we want it to be a blessing to someone else in turn. So we want to let it out at, and then she named this figure and I was just like, they knew how much this house was worth, but they chose to be really generous. I guess for me, the ongoing challenge just in living in this house, living in this incredible answer to our prayer, is that if we feel prompted to be generous, then we need to do it. We need to be generous in turn, because you just never know when we might be the answer to someone else's prayer.
Next week, with the NHS under pressure, Alid experiences the highs and lows of life at Southport Hospital. But we end today with an inspiring hymn that urges us to build a house, not in the literal sense, but as Christians to bear witness to our unity in Christ.
From song to dance at 6, just how would you capture a troupe of performing ballerinas? The Big Painting Challenge continues on BBC One after the news.